last I discussed Boise State on this particular program, it was pointing out their path to the playoff is not as easy as it might seem. I still feel that way. However, I kept trying to come up with ways in which they don't get to 10 wins in the regular season. Don't really know where that is. The Broncos are going to replace Ashton Jeanty in the aggregate. I don't know they're going to have one bell cow. I think they have a couple of backs in that room that they like. But certainly Jeanty, whoever you're replacing, it's going to be a downgrade in that regard. I have questions about the wide receiver room, but it doesn't worry me a lot. Boise State and Georgia Tech have this in common. Off-season moves to their receiver room did the opposite of excite me for that position group, but didn't raise my concern level considerably because they're not offenses that are predicated on throwing the ball. And they have their quarterbacks back. So Haynes King at Georgia Tech, Maddux Madsen, of course, for Boise State. So Madsen is a guy that when he really had to throw the ball a ton against a big-time school in Penn State last year, threw as many interceptions in one game as he had all season. The good news is that's not what I'm trying to determine right now is how they'd fare in a playoff game. I'm just looking at their schedule. I don't know how I picked them to not win 10 games. Because here's the thing. They go at Notre Dame for their 5th game of the year. It's one of the under-the-radar fun games. 2 playoff teams from a season ago. You've got a returning quarterback on one side, a new quarterback on the other for Notre Dame. CJ Carr, very exciting young quarterback prospect for the Irish. I'm not picking Boise to go in. If they do, by the way, get ready for Boise State at-large discussions to get very real, as in they wouldn't have to win the Mountain West. They could go to the Mountain West title game, lose, and should still, in some people's view, be in the playoffs. Just be ready for that. Just keep it in the back of your mind. Notre Dame is not a game I'm going to expect them to win. I don't think even Boise State people out there listening to or watching this show, I don't think you guys expect to be Notre Dame, right? It wouldn't be the craziest upset in the world. Boise State has won those sorts of games before. I like Marcus Freeman. I like Notre Dame. So that one I have written in pen as a loss. Not Sharpie, but pen. And not the erasable pen. So then you keep going down the schedule. And I really did want to find a second loss on there for Boise State. I'm looking at the San Diego State game on the road late in the year. I think San Diego State, who has the preseason Mountain West Defensive Player of the Year on the roster and has brought in just a bunch of transfers. Sean Lewis is a solid coach. You go back to his time at Kent State, he was a good head coach there for the Golden Flashes and then was the OC at Colorado. Now in his 2nd season, this is a program that we know can push for a conference championship when they are being run properly. I think Lewis is doing plenty of things right. I don't know if they're ready based on last year to make that big of a leap forward. We shall see. But I just kept going through Boise's schedule and I wanted to find a second loss. I don't know where it is. I really do not know where it is on the run because Jeanty isn't there, but there's so much continuity and prestige that I expect with Boise State. I think those two things are going to work hand in hand. Like the Broncos, here's their schedule for those who don't have it memorized, which is probably most of you. I think week 1, Boise State's got to be ready to roll. South Florida's got a good football coach, solid program. They go on the road. Boise's favorite, I believe, by 8 points or so. But road game week 1, hey, anything could happen there. At South Florida, Eastern Washington, at Air Force, App State. Don't sleep on the Mountaineers, perhaps. I mean, Joey Aguilar's not there anymore. He's made his way all the way to Knoxville, Tennessee. At Notre Dame, New Mexico, maybe watch for New Mexico. That was a surprising team last year, but it's at home, so I'm not going to pick them to lose there. UNLV, I like Dan Mullen. I think he can do well at UNLV. I'm really intrigued to see what the Rebels are this year. They've lost their last 3 games to Boise State, and that was when Barry Odom had them at their peak. Mullen is, at the very least, doing a soft reset of sorts with an epic list of names, by the way. Alex Orji, Anthony Colandrea are on that roster. Justin Flo is on that roster. Like, there are some once in future big time stars that didn't turn out to be future big time stars on Nevada's team, or UNLV's team rather. But then Boise's at Nevada, Fresno State, at San Diego State, Colorado State at home. If it were on the road, I'd say maybe. And they go at Utah State the next week. Like, where's the loss? I just can't get behind picking Boise State to lose more than the Notre Dame game. Like, my gut record when thinking about the Broncos is 10-2, but I just don't know where that second game comes from. I no one ever know. That's why they call it an upset. Of course, that's why they call it an upset, and certainly it would be. But I think the South Florida game week 1 is one to watch, and San Diego State as well would be my top 2 candidates there. But for the Broncos getting into the college football playoff again, I think, and by the way, I forgot to mention this earlier, as I roll through my record predictions here leading up to the season, this will be G5 Friday. So every Friday there will be a Group 5 team on here whose record prediction I do that I think is noteworthy, or is Notre Dame. Either one. So I think for Boise State, if they get back to the Mountain West Championship game, they're going to have to win it. That's what this comes down to. Maybe I'm overlooking Air Force high floor program, but I think what this comes down to for Boise State from a playoff standpoint is, unless you're going to win at Notre Dame, I don't think there's enough to wind up being an at-large. Last year their only loss was at Oregon. They very nearly pulled it off at Autzen Stadium. They're going to try and do that again in South Bend. And hey, Notre Dame has lost to teams far worse than what Boise State's going to put on the field this year. That is very much the case. They've lost to Marshall, Northern Illinois last year. Sure, that's not crazy. I think without another high-profile game on there, like Appalachian State's a fun matchup. UNLV, I don't think will have the same cachet and pedigree and won't give them, the same sort of boost in the eyes of the College Football Playoff Committee to where, they could sneak in and try to be an at-large team. Whereas last year, if they'd lost the UNLV in the Mountain West Championship game, they probably would have just been straight up eliminated from the playoff. But think about this. Just ponder it for a moment and just take this thought into the weekend with you, just as a little chaos scenario. What if Boise goes 12-0 with a win at Notre Dame, loses the Mountain West Championship game, and Notre Dame's a top 10 team in the playoff? Are you putting Boise in? Are you keeping them? That gets exciting real quick. So ponder that. But I think Boise repeats with an 11-1 season. I think Spencer Danielson has proven a lot as a head coach. He's got his quarterback returning. Once they figure out what the running back situation exactly is going to be and how many carries they can rely on those guys compared to what they had with Jeanty last year, maybe they have to lean on Madsen a little bit more. I think he can handle a little bit more, particularly against the Mountain West. They get a lot of their most important games like UNLV and Colorado State at home. So, yeah, I'm taking Boise 11-1. Couple spots maybe, but overall, hard to pick against them. So, ponder that chaos scenario, though, as you go into the weekend. Appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time. And until then, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.